A little something happened on the other night when everybody was paying attention to Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, by the way, who's campaigning in Pennsylvania right now, trashing New York. He's, we're not going to make the same mistake those New Yorkers made. They don't know what they're doing over there. So he went from saying he loved the New York values, actually, especially upstate, to, you got to win Pennsylvania. You got to do what you got to do, right?
Desperation calls.
So a little something happened during all that yesterday, in the rubble yesterday, and that is in the Dean Skelos seat. There was a special election down in Long Island, and that Republican seat went to a Democrat. Pretty big. And there's a couple of other contested races that are coming up here. And the Democrats will tell you that they are about to take control of the Senate. And I spoke with one person yesterday who would be somebody who I would probably trust is credible, who said if this does happen, and this person felt that it's likely that it will in November, that the Democrats will take control of the New York State Senate, that micro-stamping will all be, it will become a reality in New York State. And what would that mean for Remington Arms? So, in the micro-stamping is where the it's not on the actual bullet.
It's in the barrel.
It's when the whatever it is. My father would know the words, the actual terminology. But when whatever it is that fires that bullet out of the chamber is what would place the stamp, the hammer.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be it. But it would place the stamp on the bullet. Now, experts on the gun side will say it does absolutely nothing. There's no way it tracks any bullet or any crime scene to a certain gun or to a certain bullet. However, it seems to be inevitable if the Democrats win control of the Senate, which is possible now. And that right, a lot of talk about this yesterday. Just saying, it's might be a bigger deal than they were paying attention to.
That seems like they're opening themselves up to circumstantial evidence if you were to microstamp. Because think about it. Let's say there was a murder that took place at a shooting range. For instance,
I think you're getting the cart is a little bit before the horse, but they're saying that it doesn't scientifically, it doesn't work. So you'd be placed in a situation, I guess, in a trial if it came down to that, where you'd have somebody on one side, somebody on the other.
Well, even if each weapon had an individual serial number that was stamped onto that casing, because what would essentially happen probably is the gun would fire, and then the hammer would hit that shell casing and not the bullet. And then it would, that would be found at the scene.
I'm going to leave you to the science of this whole thing because I have no idea.
Okay.
I can't debate something I don't know anything about. I really don't know anything about it. As a matter of fact, I had said to my father yesterday, that means each bullet has to be micro-stamped. And he said, no, it's not the bullets. It's actually the gun that would stamp the bullets. And the other part of this that would be interesting is that, and people are saying yesterday that I was talking to, well, that means Remington's going to, they're just going to pull out. But it really doesn't change anything for Remington in New York per se, right? Because really what this means is any gun that is sold in New York State has to have this micro-stamping technology. So that means if your Colt and wherever Colt guns are made or one of the other gun makers, you too, in order to sell a gun in New York State, I think you'd have to have the micro-stamping, right?
So move out of New York State, right? So then your guns don't have to have the thing, and then people buy from out of New York State. That's what
No. Your guns, it doesn't change anything. I mean, I'm not saying Remington won't use this as a reason to move, but what I'm saying is it doesn't change anything. If Remington moves, it changes nothing. If they want to sell guns in New York State, they still have to micro-stamp, right?
And
any gun maker that wants to sell in New York State, if this were to happen, they would have to micro-stamp. So what I'm saying is moving out doesn't change anything.
Right.
They could still say we're not going to sell guns in New York and still make them in New York.
And how does this
Which
prevent...
is toughy, right, when you think about it.
How does this prevent anybody still from committing a heinous crime?
Another question, Andrew, we'll have to leave for another day. I don't have the answer to that. Okay. Carl Palladino in the news yesterday. You know Carl Palladino, when Trump won the other day, He was standing right by the side of Donald Trump.
The Biden side.
He was in the orange glow of the Donald on stage during the big announcement. So yesterday he did an interview on WAMC, and I have some audio on this thing. He did an interview on WAMC, which is the NPR station out in Albany. And on there, Palladino was asked about the Trump victory. You want to listen to some of this? Because it's pretty good. And he's being charged with making a racial slur. And you be the judge. Is this a racial slur? Listen to this. It is the, did anybody catch the alleged? So apparently, and I didn't know this, but apparently raccoons is considered a racial slur. Andrew, you're shaking your head. Well, I understand take the ra off.
Yeah.
But that's where it all stems from is raccoons. Now, did Palladino mean that in a racial way? He says absolutely not. And he's quoting a letter that came from an 80-year-old guy who had sent a letter to the Republican National Committee stating that it's time to get the raccoons out of the basement, and basically saying that they're going to clean house when it comes to these moderate Republicans or the established Republicans. Well, is it a racial slur? Palladino says absolutely not.
Well, not to mention the fact that he said nothing leading up to that point that would justify it being.
Well, he did. He got into the whole. It was all about Obama prior to that. But still, I don't know. It's pretty. It is a reach. He says it's not the case. But there is a blog out there, Think Progress, that is ripping into him and actually claims if you look at the history of raccoon going back to the minstrel shows that were popular in America in the decades before the Civil War, it's all there if you read the Coon Caricature, and they have a link to that, which comes from Ferris State University at their website. The story's up on our site along with the full audio from his interview on NPR from yesterday. Here's Christine with an update, 6:51. Good morning, Christine Bellino.